From victory road to virtual vaults, this battle-tested trainer brought home 4 titles in the Fortnite League, earning his place among the real-world Elite Four. I had a different intro written for him on a different Canva board. His training regimen is tougher than Dragonite scales, and now he's pivoted from power-ups to pixelated profits, mastering NFT placement at Magic Eden like a Pokemart. He's got the badges, the brains, and the battle passes. This knock.
This might be the first time I've ever been first. Fucking excited about this one. Let's go.
God bless. Me and Dub are fighting over the touchpad because he's playing games on the Farcade at the same time that I'm trying to go through the intros. It's tough out here. Yeah. We wish we could afford a second device, but unfortunately it wasn't in the cards. Up next, brace yourselves for a financial firestorm. We're talking millions juggled like they're flaming bowling pins, budgets that would make a dragon sweat gold, and a personality that could ignite something between a garbage fire and a supernova. Prepare yourselves to meet the personality that can melt your motherboard. From Glitter Cloud Solutions, the incendiary innovator, the human flamethrower, it's Tony V.
That's my flamethrower sound. Thanks for having me here, guys.
Flame on to the panel, says Tony. Up next, from crits to crypto, this former sharpshooter has leveled up and evolved. He's got a master ball mindset and a mega stone strategy. He's planted the rare seed that bloomed into Glitter Cloud Solutions, along with Tony V, a consultancy super effective against the stale GameFi. He's the king of the kill streak and the current Farcaster phenomenon on the Farcade. It's Dub.
Yeah, honored to be here. Surprised Sam isn't kicked me out of his life by now. We've been attached at the hip for way too long. Excited to get out of his room here in a second.
Yeah, guess who stayed at that strip club with me? It was also Dub.
Not guilty, Your Honor.
Up next, he's a 30-year titan of code, a world builder of mythic proportions, and he has the rare honor of working on a game inducted into the World Video Game Hall of Fame. He's forming the fabric of play. He's a parallel pioneer, holding court in the top 30 and a master of mechanics and metagames. Recently, he stepped into the spotlight with the Project O Invitational at the Wolves Den. Shout out from Coin Games and Project O. It is Kevin Lambert.
Thank you, Sam. That intro had 10 times the energy that the projects, my bags in crypto this cycle, so I appreciate it.
Yikes. We're all in a tough spot. Up next, building my angry Yakuza girlfriend. He's a behemoth of bold tastes and brazen taboos. The Renaissance rebel that strikes fear into the peasants and the gutless wanks alike. A towering titan from the Far East looking to establish a gaming legacy beyond what we've seen in the Web3 West. He's the titan of taboo, the founder who can't be bought. It's Sinjin.
Good afternoon, morning, or wherever the hell you are. Let's eat some souls today, boys.
Sinjin, you're not the only person up at 4 a.m. We've got another special guest here joining us from the Far East as well that I'm excited to get to in just a second. But up first, he's forged in the fiery furnaces of Smash tournaments where he's dishing out more L's than a dyslexic librarian. This guest has leveled up, blasting his way through the Web3 war zones like a bull in a china shop. This ox doesn't believe in beauty sleep because he's too busy stampeding over the competition. He's the overlord of opportunities, the sultan of Smash. From Avalanche, it's Wills.
And that's dyslexic librarian off my Sam intro bingo card. I've got 3 more to go on this row, and then I win something.
Amazing, dude. Jerry, unfortunately, out for the time being. He will be here in just a little bit, dealing with some personal stuff. So heart goes out to Jerry. Looking forward to having him on the panel in just a few. Up next, though, he's an original gangster of gaming, a guru of guild building, and a practically prehistoric power player in the crypto creation cosmos. He's the dude who developed a digital dominion with Yield Guild Games, and now this pioneer of play is launching a new legend, a mobile masterpiece of mirth and money. LOL.land. Get ready to go like a certain board game, but this time with the power of pudgy penguins. He's the big boss of the blockchain, the granddaddy of guilds, the one, the only. It's Gabby Dazan.
Good morning. Did you just call me prehistoric?
I said things about your legacy. We're just gonna move past that, Gabby. Appreciate you coming on, man. Up next, we have the man who once navigated the treacherous tides of transactions at Square, making sure every scallywag secured their share of spoils. Then at Cash App, he wasn't just aptly amazing. He was a fintech freebooter, forging a fortress of fiscal fanatics, and now he's the potent product pirate, the leafy legend leading the charge of Pirate Nation. Hoist the mainsail of monetary magic and give a hearty ahoy for the admiral of assets, the fantastically fronded. It's Fern.
Best one yet. Easy. To get better and better. Thank you, Sam.
I do what I can, man. I wasn't able to get all of them originally written today in time for the show, so I'm sorry to the reboots among us, but appreciate each and every one of you guys. This one as well, unfortunately, you could tell it's a couple weeks old, but this man is what happens when Charmander level Charm meets Dragonair tier Drip, weighing in a sleek 2.4 pounds, is trailblazing, tail flinging, slithering straight to stardom. Lizard is clapping claws and saluting the slinky serpent of the spotlight. The little is the legend is Lems.
GM, what is up? And the Pokemon ones will never get old for me. It's it's near and dear to my heart.
Love you, buddy. Up next, you got to prepare to ascend to the peak of innovation with Avalanche, the official blockchain of Gamified. With possibilities as high as the Himalayas, Avalanche allows you to own your digital Everest, where your community plants its flag and your own token fuels the climb. So whether you're a seasoned Sherpa or a curious climber, come explore the Avalanche of opportunities. Plus, find us in London right now if you're in town. I was actually just getting DMs from people saying, "Oh my God, I'm in London. We should hang out." Absolutely, we should. Let me know. I'm here. I'm here. I'm at the Pullman. Come find me. Up next, these aren't your run-of-the-mill developers. They're architects of growth, building a better landscape for Web3 gaming. It's Game 7, the official infrastructure of Gamified. They've got an incredible toolkit from Summon to Hyperplay, which is your fast lane into Web3 gaming, making it a breeze to discover and dive into new games. Shout out to Game 7, the infrastructure innovators, making it all come together. And today we have Dub on Thousands.tv playing Farcade games. Farcade is the official game studio of Gamified today, and it's making your game development dreams come true by offering no-code opportunities for you to build and distribute your very own creations. Thanks to Farcade for being the official game of Gamified. And we're also giving away that $500 in Woof from Wolvesdow and $500 in Gun from Off the Grid, courtesy of Thousands.tv. Thanks, guys. Appreciate it. Make sure you jump over there and rally with us. There's going to be sort of a red and blue situation where you guys can put in your credits to decide what you think is going to be the winner. So in this case, we're talking game closures, the first topic of the day.
Hold on,
Starting.
Sam. Hold on. Did you skip me? Is it because I outed you? Yo, Tony, check those glitter cloud receipts. If there's some erroneous charges, it's because Sam and Dub were engulfed in their own glitter cloud, if you know what I mean.
I mean, I just want Dub to paint Sam like one of his French girls.
You're right, Koji. There's no excuses for this, except for all of the jabs that you've taken at me and my wonderful selection of hotels. Okay, Koji, of course, the king of parallel, the savior of Web3 gaming, the NFT titan, and the funniest person in Web3 that I know. I also have his address, so be careful. Be careful, Koji. We're talking game closures over under 30 more this year. In just the last week, we've seen several studios shutting down: Nyan Heroes, Rumble Kong League, Blast Royale, Ember Sword, just to name a few. Trevor, the Ronin creator, dropped a list of a bunch of 2025 closures. There was over 15 titles on it already, and it didn't include a bunch that have come out over the last few days. A couple of them, like Jungle, are pivoting to Web 2. This can be a brutal reminder, of course, how tough the gaming business is in general, and then you add Web 3 to it, it's even tougher. So the question here is, do you think over under 30 more Web3 gaming studios closing down? The red is going to be the under, and the blue is going to be the over on Thousands.tv if you're voting along with us. Koji, over to you first. Over under 30 more closing this year.
I mean, I'm going under only because I can't name 30 others. But I do think that there's going to be a good number of closures. Like, I think it's like a two-pronged thing, right? Like, we are in a space where a lot of teams dev out in the open, or at least release products before they're fully baked, but which is kind of what we've agreed upon with the user base, with the community. And as part of that, you kind of you get to see behind the curtain a little bit, and with that comes like things closing before they're ready. Because in Web 2, there's a lot of games that get canned that you'll never hear of because they never even make it to market, right? And a lot of the games that you're playing in Web 3 in the Web 2 world would never have made it to market, so you wouldn't have even known about them. But that being said, like, I had this conversation with Sam while he was in Toronto, but I feel like, there but for the grace of God go I. It's just like, if ever people lose interest in parallel or whatever, all the things we're building, or even worse than that, like we have a bunch of players but we can't convert any of them to paid players, like that stuff can happen, right? And then like just another one will bite the dust. And I think this is like part of the natural life cycle it impacts us more because there are fewer of us in Web3 and we get to see it more. It's more public. And so we think it's a bigger deal than it is. It's just kind of par for the course.
Absolute banger take from Koji to kick us off. I want to go to Kevin Lambert next, then we'll tag in Knock.
Yeah, I would say same reasoning. I don't know if I can name 30, but I would definitely say there will be more than 30 Web3 projects shutting down. So I don't know if that counts or if it's specifically games, because I don't know if there are 30 Web3 games that we've all heard of. But, I think another piece that's due to piggyback on what Koji said, is, a lot of these games were spun up in the euphoric stage of the market, when in the trust us bro culture, where it was just like, with a pitch deck and a front page on a website, you can do a lot. I won't name any names of front page websites that did that, but I think now we're moving into the show rather than tell state, and the teams that are willing and able to do that are much, much fewer. Definitely fewer than 30, I would say. So yeah, we're probably going to see a lot of closures in Web3, a lot of promises that just weren't able to find product market fit. Which is not necessarily that the ideas were bad. It's just that the teams and the execution weren't ready for ready to find that. But on the other side of that, when the ashes come and the phoenix rises out of that, the games that come out of this phase have the potential to be excellent, and I'm looking forward to many of them.
Just to be clear, since we're doing these rallies, I do need you guys to take a side so that we can know which side of the rally won. I feel
Under.
like okay,
Under.
both taking under, but off the basis of maybe not having enough games, period, which is not great. I do think that there's more games out there that are maybe subsidiaries, or like they're under the umbrella of a bigger title, and then they kind of got moved on from. I could think of 5 off the top of my head that fall into that category. Maybe the studio isn't shutting down, but they're stopping production on the game, like Overworld from Exterio. Let's go over to Knock, and then we'll tag in Fern.
Yeah, it's going to be over, and it'll be over by quite a significant amount. I mean, every year for the last 4 years, more than 30 games have shut down. Whether or not you know anything of them is utterly irrelevant. There are tons of Web3 teams that have pitched themselves as building games and raising money based off of an NFT sale or a token sale or whatever it might be. The teams that have been listed are the teams that have been most public. And to Koji's point, are teams that may be a little further along. Maybe they've sort of leaned into the ethos that, hey, we build in public here. So maybe you get early insight to things that you probably wouldn't see in traditional Web 2 space. But way more than 30 games have closed their doors every single year in crypto over the course of the last couple of years. There's no reason why now, in a year where most teams haven't raised money in 2 or 3 years, the market is muted, NFTs aren't doing all that great right now, way more than 30 teams will be shutting their doors. And I'll even add to this. I'll try and track some of these smaller teams and see if we can do something here, Sam, towards the end of the year, where we put together a comprehensive list. But I would imagine that number is probably between 40 and 50 teams overall that have stated that they're building a Web3 game will shut down or give up development on that title over the course of the next 6 months.
Knock is taking the firm over. Let's go over to Fern and then to Tony V.
Yeah, I'll take the over. So startups are really hard. Crypto is really hard. Gaming is really hard. And if you layer all those things on top of each other, you get, crypto gaming, an industry where I think there's been very few successes so far. There's some that have been coming closer, but they haven't really been breakout successes yet, at least on a long-term scale. I will say that I dislike the grave stomping that I see. These are people who are putting their time and effort into building real companies. And yes, there are ruggers and there are bad actors out there, and we should shun them and kick them out of the space. But for the most part, everyone is really trying their best to just build a company. And entrepreneurship is really difficult, especially when you're on a frontier technology. And so the only thing I would ask, I said over, I'd also ask like for some grace for the people who are like actually building these companies, because they're people, they're like humans. Like, yes, you see a tiny little like picture on a screen, like a post on Twitter, like there's like people with like lives and families on the other side. And like, it doesn't feel great. Like when like you see people, you know, celebrating failure, like that's not what we're all here for. We're here like to build the future. We're not here to mock each other when we don't succeed at doing something extremely hard.
Always good to remember there's a human on the other side of the internet, regardless of which side you find yourself on. Let's go over to Tony V, then to Lems.
Yeah, I'm gonna take the over as well. And fuck all those people. No, I'm gonna take the over for a different reason. I think that one of the things that we haven't talked about is like we're not talking about X number of studios closing in a vacuum and like no new studios springing into existence. And I think Sam, you're leading marketing for a company that I think is going to be changing the landscape in regards to how many games are able to be shipped in a year. And I think we're actually going to see like a light speed acceleration towards fast failure in a way, Adam, that I think feels a lot better than the way it does now. Because I think the resources that it's going to cost to fail are going to be a lot lower as well. But I do think that we're going to see like the birth and death of a lot of game companies that are one or two people that are able to spin up a prototype and raise 50 grand from friends and family and go try to make a game. Like I think that is gonna there's gonna be like hundreds of those in the next couple of years. And so yeah, I think we're like way over.
Way over. That puts over at a slight advantage, 3-2 here. I'm going over to Lems, then we're tagging in Spang.
Yeah, I couldn't slam the 100 emoji enough when Nock was speaking there, because you might not have heard of them, but man, there are a lot of like teams and projects that have been in Web3. I minted a lot of shit back in 21 and 2, and even like just yesterday, I was clearing out Discord servers, and the amount of servers I was leaving, that I was like, this thing's dead. This thing's dead. Just because maybe it didn't announce that it was dead, they were just like basically gone silent. Ember Sword was one that came out like yesterday, and the amount of people I saw were like, oh yeah, forgot that thing existed. Like there's countless examples of those, and people have just minted assets or whatever, and they've forgotten about it, and there's been no comments from them. So yeah, definitely gonna be over. I think Adam's point was really good too as well. Like we need to not just be grave stomping. Like the way people are on the timeline, it's like it's pretty toxic right now. This like mentality of like, oh, it's like I told you so kind of thing, and like in hindsight, and it really doesn't do anyone any good. It's like, hey, this industry is like pretty rough. Gaming is rough. There was really good chat in Wolves and Friends as well, the Telegram group, of like, hey, like if this was in traditional gaming, like a lot of these games just would never get to their publisher milestones, and they would just never see the light of day. Everything is in public here, so we got to just bear that in mind. We often talk about like 95% of startups fail, but now we're just living it and getting to experience it, where we thought like everyone thought their bags would make it, but like the sad reality is that's just not a realistic outlook.
Great take from Lems. I want to go over to Spang, then to Kevin Lambert.
Yeah, I'm gonna go the over. Can you guys hear me? Hello?
Oh, you're back.
Yes.
You're back.
Okay.
Yeah, I can
Okay.
hear you.
Good. Okay. Cool. I'm gonna take the over on this one. And I think for all of the reasons that people are saying as well, but I think the reason that we're talking about this and the reason that this has become a talking point over the past few weeks is because there's been a major shift in what people are seeing as success in this industry. A couple of people have alluded to the fact that a lot of these projects were founded in the 2021-22 era, where we were seeing crazy stuff happening, as Kevin said, with a pitch deck and a website, and also importantly, a token and a token price that went to the absolute moon. Like, it still baffles me to this day that Illumium hit what, like $1,400 for nothing at all. They just didn't have anything, and now they have some mediocre games, but they haven't really done anything with it. And that's why a lot of people got into this space. And I think we're still kind of seeing the remnants of that ideology and that as the idea of success and what we're doing this for, kind of really starting to peter out. And I think the reason that we're starting to see this peter out is because we're seeing what large, established, and successful players and the results that they're getting. We're seeing Guns, we're seeing Maplestory come out with their TGEs and looking at these charts and being like, this is just stable. That's not a hockey stick. This is a stable chart that isn't really going anywhere and is kind of just sitting where it needs to be based on the way that the community is interacting with it and how people are engaging with the assets. And that is helpful for gameplay purposes. And this is what we're going to be seeing a lot more of, is these stable economies with not L-stick hockey growth that we came to expect back in those days. And I think that a lot of teams are looking at that and going, oh, well, if this is what massive multi-billion-dollar corporations are seeing, and we're basing our results on getting, 100x on TGE, this isn't going to be feasible for us.
Yeah, it's a great point. The landscape is changing, and so are the sort of standards and opinions that we're seeing from people, where it's becoming a lot more about like, hey, maybe we should have a full-fledged game out and a stable economy before we introduce a liquid token, or maybe we don't introduce a liquid token at all. Spang hanging behind from AVAX Summit so that he could drop bombs like that remotely. Let's go over to Kevin Lambert, then to Sinjin.
I just had a question. Like, is the measure for this just out of the panel here? What are the votes, or is there actually a measure like, hey, we're gonna be able to check and find out how many of these studios closed? Because I was going by actual measure, but if you had said like, what is the group gonna think here? I probably would have changed my vote.
So the rally on thousands is for what the group thinks here, but in general, we are voting on what we think. Will 30 or more shut down between now and the end of the year? So the next 6 months, based on what we've seen so far. Sinjin, over to you.
Yeah, I think obviously it's for me, it's like the whole industry is just basically going down the tubes as it is, right? But I want to say that and put it in perspective that this was always going to be the outcome in the situation that we are, because, you know, what were we really building for? So I want to say that, like, do I still believe that Web3 gaming is inevitable? And like, are these closures like affecting that viewpoint? Yeah, I think like Web3 gaming is absolutely still inevitable, and it doesn't affect my viewpoint at all in terms of what these closures are representing. And just to give like an example is that I think something where like around like 2005, can you believe that there were like 150 to 200 active online poker websites that were all making money that were in the market at that time? Like 150 at one time. Okay. And you could have gone to this site called pokerscout.com. It's still around, but if you go there, you're going to see like maybe like, I don't know, like 15 that are really active at this moment, but only about like 4 or 5 that are actually, making money and that have survived up to this point. And, with all like the innovation or all like the fundraising for certain types of games and stuff like that, the reality was always going to be that we're always going to end up with just a few winners. So for me, like, this was fairly inevitable as well. But that doesn't take away from the narrative or, the direction of what the industry is going for. And that is, something really special. So yeah, my heart goes out to like all the studios that have closed down or that will close down. That are having a really rough time because the market is just crazy. And if the studios can raise at this time, like, wow, what a miracle for you guys. But yeah, I think, it's definitely like way over.
It sounds like the over is going to win. I have to say, Sinjin, yeah, I agree. I've heard of a few people raising over the last couple of months, and every time I hear that they're able to do that in this market, it really does sort of put a stamp on that group and say they're building something special if they're able to do it now. So congratulations to people on the blue side of the rally. Over 30 games is the consensus of the panel here. We're moving on to the next topic of the day. What's the word? Clair Obscur Expedition 33 and the insane amount of success that they've been getting. The game sold over 2 million copies within 12 days of the launch. It's been closer to 3 weeks now, which is 6 times the estimates even a few days ago, surpassing industry expectations. Despite this being a turn-based game, it's a game that people don't usually like in this genre because it's like an active turn-based game. There was one feature that I keep hearing over and over and over again, which is this parry feature in particular. And the parry feature is something that you have to do again actively. So a character is coming at you, you have to hit it right just the right moment, and you can kind of turn the tides of these fights that you're in otherwise. So the question here is true or false that one feature is responsible for the bulk of the success that the game is seeing. So true being yes, it's just because of the parry feature. False being there's actually a lot going on here, but the parry feature is the unique thing that people are pointing out. That's going to be the rally. Blue is going to be false. There's lots of things going on here. Red is going to be true. It's just the parry feature. That's what's unique. And what's the word for the success that we're seeing out of this turn-based surprise that we've seen? I'm going to go over to Knock first.
The word is inspired, man. This is if you haven't played it and you have Game Pass, it's a just try it out, download it tonight. It's fucking incredible. I would say false. It's not only because of the parry, but the parry helps a lot and it does pull a lot of the weight. The idea behind this game sort of spawned out of a dev who was tired of the uninspired stuff that came out of Ubisoft, spun out, spins up his own dev, studio, puts out this game. I think it shocked a lot of people. They went to market in a way that was pretty unique in the way that it was delivered. They went to a bunch of creators who started getting their hands on it. This game spreads like through word of mouth a lot more than any game I can remember in recent history. And the parry feature really does add a lot to the turn-based style games. Somebody suggested that it might be something like a Fire Emblem or like early Final Fantasy, and I didn't really understand that. But you jump into the game, you have this turn-based system, there's a really beautiful story, the world looks incredible, and then you have this active moment when you're actually competing in combat where if you time things correctly, you do way more damage. Your combos are insane. You take almost no damage if you get a bunch of perfect parries. It is a really engaging twist on a genre that I think a lot of people historically stayed away from because they thought it was boring. They didn't want to go through this turn-based strategy. They didn't necessarily care or feel anything about that type of gameplay. But when you add in this parry mechanism, it does add a lot to the game. And you couple that with the inspired design, the story, the overall atmosphere when you're playing this game, and it feels unlike anything that we've seen in quite some time. Um, Blueprints is another game that came out just recently that also has a lot of this like very inspired feel of it. It's just nice to see two AA teams sort of leading the charge on game of the year candidates. I think the word is inspired. I think false. The parry does a lot for the game. It absolutely adds to it. But even without that mechanism, there's just so many good things in Expedition 33 that I still think it would be one of the front runners for game of the year.
Awesome stuff. Thanks for the clean answer there, Knock. Let's go over to Gabby from YGG and Lawland. Also, Gabby, is it Lawland or LOL Land? We got to settle
You
this
can
because
call
like,
it Lowland.
all right, Lawland it is. Gabby, over to you.
All right, so I've been playing the game, and it's definitely not just because of the parry feature. I think this type of game is something that just doesn't get approved over at the big publishers these days. It's a combination of like a really great and unique story. Parry definitely helps. The characters are interesting. The skill trees are interesting as well. There's a certain like French flair about the entire game. The graphics are good. The characters are actually funny. And yeah, there's certain elements there that you've played in other games. And definitely the turn-based gameplay is not something that people aren't as used to anymore. But combine all of that into just a package that is just so marvelous and wonderful to play.
I love that. Two in the category of there's more to it than just the parry feature. Let's go over to Koji, then to Kevin.
Yeah, I mean, definitely there's more to it. So I would say it's false that it's just the parry. Um, yeah, I mean, I think the word is inspiring as well. Like we see it with I mean, we forget sometimes that video games are art. And we see it with like a movie like Sinners or something, right? It's like, okay, we've seen the vampire thing before, but it's all of a sudden it's like, holy shit, this is like this guy did it in a way that like is new and fresh and amazing and exciting. And like the same thing with turn-based combat. Now I will say, Knock, you're exposing yourself as having never played Super Mario RPG. If you think that this is the first game that did this shit, how dare you, sir? But I will say that like it's been a while, and even in Mario RPG, it wasn't sort of like showcased as like a core feature of the game. It was just like a nice little add-on. So I think to like have this mix between turn-based combat and some sort of active style is amazing. Because I played the Final Fantasy VII remakes and some of the other, more slightly active combat games, and I hated them. And I think this is like, done it on a surprising new level. So I think we're going to see a lot more where this comes from. But again, I think that like when it comes to art, indie stuff can surprise you, right? Like it's Blueprints is another great example. I think that like as long as people are doing new, fun, interesting things, it doesn't matter. I mean, this game is also beautiful, but even if it wasn't beautiful, it would still be a contender for Game of the Year.
So Koji, it sounds like you're a false. You think there's more than just the parry system that played into the success here?
Yeah, definitely false.
All right, that's 3-0, heavy-handed. Kevin, over to you.
This should be 100%. It's not just the parry. Yeah, not just the parry. False. Easy. I was also going to bring up Super Mario RPG, and I thought I had my hand up before Koji. Damn. So now I'm going to have to follow.
I think you did too, and I'm glad that I got to front run you.
Yeah, you did. It's all good. Yeah, the turn-based. I've played so many turn-based RPGs, like practically all of them from the old console days, right? And a lot of them have that additional spice. I think the thing that players like when this is up for Game of the Year and you're reading all the reviews about this game, the thing that will be most commonly talked about is how fun the combat is. If you don't enjoy the combat, you will not like this game, but you will enjoy the combat because it's awesome. Because it's turn based with spice, and the spice is it's got the parry mechanic, the dodge mechanic, a little bit of that, which is really interesting because in these games they're like, well, if you think about it, you don't actually need health or defense, right? Because you can just learn the fights and perfectly time them and not take any damage for the entirety of the game. But it takes time to do that, so you invest into health and defense while you learn, but you could just grind them and never take damage, right? So it's a really interesting gameplay mechanic that rewards skill so much, and you don't see that in turn-based RPGs very often. So it's a fresh mix of those, combined with the great story, skill tree, the progression. I have two complaints about the UX related to the Pictos, and you can't preview outfits on your character. I'm like, wow, how did that get by? But like outside of that, the game is absolutely incredible. I do think it's a Game of the Year contender. And if you had said, do you think it's the combat that's going to make this primarily responsible, that would have been a far more tough question because it's really close. But I think it's the full package. And if you have not played this game, you must. It's going to probably be up for Game of the Year.
With these Super Mario RPG references, I feel bad for calling Gabby prehistoric. Clearly, it should have been Koji and Kevin Lambert here. Let's go over to Knock and then to Spang.
Yeah, one of the things that I think is most exciting about this is that this is the type of game that only gets greenlit by a small studio like this, right? Like the lead developer of the studio specifically said it himself. Like, I left Ubisoft because we weren't doing things like this. I felt boring and stale, and I wanted to create something that was a little more exciting. And I think in a world where AAA developers are consistently competing to build the next forever game, something that has a little bit of something for everybody, a lot of the times what you get is not enough substance for anybody. And that's why we've seen so many AAA titles flop over the course of the last, let's call it 5 years or so, when titles like Expedition 33 are coming out, and it's really meant for a pretty specific audience. You have to have some background in this style of game. You have to have at least some experience, because a lot of the people that I know, at least anecdotally, that didn't play turn-based RPGs or are unfamiliar with these types of combat systems, they still don't quite get it, despite thinking that it's a really cool game and it looks beautiful. But for the people who have played it, it's the most refreshing thing that's come out in like almost a decade. So I think it's really important to support studios like this so we get more inspired games like this, because we've just been fed slop from the AAA studios for the last 10 years.
Great take, Knock. I want to go over to to Spang, and then back to Kevin Lambert.
Hell yeah. Okay, I've been waiting this whole question because I get to be Jerry today and say that absolutely it is the parry. Because as someone who does not typically play turn-based games, and I think that what we're hearing is from the Super Mario crowd of turn-based RPG enthusiasts is that it's an innovation on the turn-based RPG genre, which is great. But as we know, being in the space that we're in, it's not about just improving it for the people that are already there, but bringing new people in. And this is a full price game, so it needs to have a hook. And I think what is hooking people is the fact that it does have a parry. Granted, I have purchased the game, but I have not played it. But the reason I purchased it is because I heard it had a parry. Because we're in the parry meta. It's not just Clair Obscur, it's Doom Eternal, a fast paced first person shooter, has implemented parries. It's one of the coolest game mechanics that you can put in a game to immediately make a player feel skilled and engaged. And I think people are finally coming around to that. And so, I can't speak to the overall quality of the game and, what it's, what really makes it special. But I can say, as a consumer, that what was able to push me over the edge when I had played games like Baldur's Gate 3 and not had, a 10 out of 10 time, a good game, just not my kind of thing. But it was the fact that it had a parry, and it reaches that whole new audience outside of that. And that's what I think is really exciting about it. The fact that it had a parry influenced my decision so much. I was fully willing to look past the fact that this is a French studio. I mean, that says a lot.
I love it, dude. Honestly, the French jab aside, which I may or may not agree with, I totally agree that there's more to the quality or the engagement of a game that has this parry system, because you kind of just hit the button and like AFK mentally while it plays out, and you watch the pretty animations a lot of the time. But it's one simple element of like, I've got to time this perfectly, and all of a sudden you're like leaning forward, engaged in gaming mode, being like, I gotta lock in. It's a boss fight. It just elevates the entire experience. Let's go over to Kevin Lambert, and then Fern had the hand up for a second, might be down now.
Yeah, it's worth noting, by the way, since you haven't played it, for those who haven't played it, there is dodge and parry. The parry they are both ways to avoid some attacks. Some can't be dodged and things like that. But the timing window for the parry is very tight. And it's really great because when you try, so normally what you try to do is you dodge, and then if it says perfect, then you would have also gotten the parry, and you're like, oh sweet, my timing is perfect, I'm ready to do this. But dodge is a wider window, so you cannot get hit while you practice your parry. It's really excellent. So but since you said is it just the parry, I assume it's not the dodge and all of the timing based, right? But the whole combat system is, I think the people who say false are saying it's about the dodge and the parry and the skill-based timing, which is what I heard just spoken about what was great about it, not just the parry itself, although the branding potentially. But I raised my hand back to mention one additional thing I forgot to say, and that is, like, in the last 5 to 10 years, I've really started to pay more attention to the DNA of these game studios. Like, who at the executive leadership team is building these games, and where did they come from, and what's their superhero powers? And when you see, mostly they're developers or business, finance, marketing people. That's like 90% of the game studios you see. Occasionally, you will see a DNA of an art studio. Like, these are like Moon Studios, who made Ori and the Blind Forest, is art DNA. Limbo, Inside, those are art DNA studios. This studio feels like it has some art DNA, and you can see it, and it's awesome. And I love to see those games. They feel fresh, like Hi-Fi Rush, another one of those studios. Then you get, studios that have like game design and UX DNA, and the superhero power shows in their products too. Always love to see those guys as well.
It's a great distinction there, Kevin. Let's go over to Fern.
I put my hand down because I'm like the worst gaming leader in the world, because I don't even know what this game you're talking about is. It's like just so not on my radar at all. Like, my brain is consumed with like food and film. I raised my hand because someone shouted out Sinners, and I saw it last night, and it was epic.
Oh, hell yeah. Let's talk about movies. Fuck this.
And I just want to say everyone should go see Sinners and support like auteurs getting large budgets so more movies like that get made. And that's what I came to say. I don't know about this game. Maybe I'll look it up later.
Koji's love language is people watching movies with him. We watched 2 while I was in Toronto with him. Okay, we're moving on to a quick fire. FIFA Rivals now on the books along with NFL Rivals. NFL Rivals has done about $12 million in marketplace volume. It's generated $5.4 million in revenue in 2024, so it's not even including the last few months here. They've got about 5 million downloads and about 2 million NFT cards minted for the game. The question here is Quickfire. Will FIFA Rivals surpass NFL Rivals? Why or why not? And yes or no, so that we can measure the rally here. So yes is going to be the blue team. No is going to be the red team. Will FIFA Rivals surpass NFL Rivals? Koji, I'm tagging you in first.
Yes, it will, because when you say football to anyone outside of America, they think you're talking about FIFA, not NFL. So, yeah, I think that it'll definitely surpass.
Knock, what about you?
The easiest yes we've ever had on this show. There are like 2 countries on earth that have nationalized football leagues, and they both play different versions of the game. And then you have Germany and Japan, who happen to also slightly care about American football. Beyond that, nobody else gives a shit. Soccer is the biggest game on earth by a wide margin. This is going to crush NFL Rivals, which was a success in its own right, but I think this will destroy it.
I'm going to dub in real life.
Yeah, that's a big no way, Jose, on this. I was actually at my first European soccer match talking to the fans live about this topic, and they told me I was full of shit and to just watch the game. So I'm pretty sure none of them are really going to be interested in this whatsoever. FIFA Rivals already shit the bed with their existing gameplay, so they already have toxic and ruined their existing player base. So they're going to come in trying to attract new users that aren't even interested in the first place. So it's a clear no here, no matter what you're saying about how big football is compared to football. That's a weird argument.
To be fair,
Wait.
Doug, when we were at the movie, the person behind us told you that you were full of shit to stop talking. So I don't know if that's a you thing or.
On this last episode we did, Dub, weren't you the one saying how you hope they've like figured out all the problems from NFL Rivals, and you're so bullish on FIFA Rivals, and then now a week later you've just flipped on your head?
Yeah, I mean, you got to listen to the people at the end of the day, and the local Brits here have a clear expectation on quality, and we're nowhere near it.
Wow, dub switching sides faster than something that's fast. Over to Tony V.
Every time I'm on this show with Dub, I question my decision to found a business with him. But it's clearly FIFA is clearly going to crush NFL Rivals in revenue. Like, I mean, having worked at EA on the FIFA and the Madden products, like one of them makes a bazillion more dollars than the other for all of the reasons that everyone just said. But like, they're just like no French people buying NFL products, and there are like lots and lots and lots and lots of French people buying FIFA products, right? As just an example of one country. I think someone mentioned Japan as like a fan of American football, and I don't know that I agree with that as a statement either. I'm just going to throw that out there. It's not super germane to the conversation, but like, I don't know how
Nah,
many
you're
like
wrong,
NFL
Tony. They have like a
parties.
nationalized league and plenty of D2 shitty
I,
American players go out there.
I mean, sure, but maybe there's like 20 of those people, but I don't know if I believe you.
Hey, what about the CFL? Right, those guys got
Listen, not even
the
we care about the
Canadians.
CFL, man. The best quarterback in the CFL is a QB who couldn't make a roster that literally had no other QBs. All right.
Hey, hold
And
on. Don't besmirch Doug Flutie though, man. He was the
He
all-time
played
goat.
before like you
hey,
were born.
all I know is you're saying it's trash, but somehow there's still enough people watching it to support the entire league. At some point, those fans have got to go, I'd like to watch real football and go to the NFL product, right?
That's what we
Let's go
do.
over to
As soon as we get a team, as soon as Toronto gets an NFL team, then it's all over for the CFL. That's why we don't have one.
Spangler tagging you in.
I'm gonna say it's gonna be bigger because as we've seen with Clair Obscur, the Euro mind virus is just absolutely winning at the moment, and I believe they will continue to do so as long as the French keep putting parries where they're not supposed to be.
Doug Hype in the comments says, as the only person here that plays NFL Rivals, FIFA Rivals is going to have a real live PvP system, and it could be much better. But who here will play it? It depends if the new system is actually good. As usual, many things hang on that barrier there. Lems, over to you.
Yeah, definitely. It should succeed, and if it doesn't exceed NFL Rivals, then I would assume Mythical will treat it as a giant fail, because I'm sure getting that FIFA licensing was not cheap. And 5 million downloads, yeah, it kind of sounds like a lot from NFL Rivals. But on the grand scheme of things, for a mobile game, it's not like that many. And the global audience of actual soccer, football, I feel like it should be a no-brainer, and if they don't, then they majorly fumble the bag. Doesn't matter what Dub says, by the way.
Fumble, nice. Well done, Lems. All right, real quick ad read. During the ad read, if you're watching on thousands, Dub is going to try to play to for 5 minutes to 15. If he can beat SHNNFT by getting 15 points, then the blue team will win. If he can't, then the red team will win. He's been fighting for his life. He hasn't got past 11, so I'm trying to give you guys free points here. For the love of God, you know what to do. But in the meantime, hold on to your helmets. Avalanche is the king of gaming chains and the official chain of Gamified. Come see us in London right now. The summit is absolutely epic. There's another whole day ahead of us. Conquer the code with the cutting edge technology in the community that's frosty as it is fierce. Bundle up, bring your A game, craft your very own L1 to service all your blockchain gaming needs. Giddy up, gamers. By the way, the Game 7 Nation is galloping upon us. They've summoned over 150 games, over 30 million wallets ready to rumble with their Mega MetaMask partnership. Come and join the digital nation and get your citizenship so you can level up your life. Thank you to Game 7 for being the official infrastructure of Gamified. Yes! Dub is currently at 8. He's losing his mind. And today, of course, we have Dub playing Farcade games on Thousands TV as he dies not even halfway there. Farcade is the official game studio Gamified, and it's making your game development dreams come true, offering no code opportunities for you to build and distribute your very own creations. Thank you to the Farcade. We're also giving away $500 in Wolf, $500 in Gun from Off the Grid, courtesy of Thousands TV Guns. Dude, I'm so confused. Every time I say it wrong.
Syllables matter, plural.
Every time I say it wrong all over again. And we're jumping into the very next topic. We'll start the rally for this in just a minute while Dub fights for his life for the next 3 minutes or so. Who's in the wrong here, the players or the game? We've seen a lot of juicy complaints coming out of both the Cambria squad and also the Maplestory squad. They just launched and are already seeing some complaints about earning opportunities, people spending $10,000 and only earning $10 to $20 a day, and they're not happy about it. Drop rates also changed from the testnet, and some people are saying that you could make more money playing the traditional Maplestory game with more content and just use the black market. So what are we doing here if I can't make more money on the Web3 side of things? You also need a wallet to play, so whenever you consider that friction that users have onboarding, obviously there's some restraints there that people aren't so happy about if they're a little bit newer to this. And last but not least, we also saw Cambria distribute rewards for the last event, which was incredibly hyped, but then resulted in a lot of drama whenever it didn't really match expectations. So the question here is, who's to blame, the games or the gamers? And as soon as that last rally ends, I'll give you guys the next one to kick us off. But I want to go to Tony V first. Tony, who you blaming here, the games or the gamers?
Definitely Koji, but yeah, I think I think that this is a game. I think this is a games problem and not a gamers problem. It's not. I don't think this is a customer's problem. I have long held. Many people here have heard me say, "Show me the money, Jerry Maguire," and I think that is the most important part of this equation. Still, I talk to the guys from Open Loot all the time, and they are consistent that like part of their core mantra is our players make money. The people who care about making money make money, and I think that that's a really important thing to balance with the game's going to be fun. I think it's like when I say balance, I think it's like equally important, and I really believe that the companies that are going to be most successful are going to be the ones that have figured out, like, it's not like Maplestory's like hard up because their Web3 audience isn't happy about how much money they're making, right? Like they're still printing money like a broken ATM machine with that IP. And in my humble opinion, they should be plowing a bunch of that money that they're printing like a broken ATM machine into their power users on the Web3 side. Like that is the deal that you're signing up for if you're taking a wildly successful thing that's making money and bringing it into this space where people expect for one of the features to be, I make money if I'm really good at this thing, or if I spend a lot of money in it. And so I think that in this case, it's unfortunately hate the game, not the player. And I love the people, I love the IPs we're talking about. So obviously, I don't think that anyone's really at quote unquote at fault here. But I do think that the people that are going to be most successful are the people that take the money that they're making and say, like, this is how much we need to make for everyone to be happy at our company, and then take everything else and plow it right back into their power users.
That's a strategy we've seen a lot from TikTok, Snapchat. A lot of social media companies have done this with their creator fund. Dub, if anybody's wondering, still not even close to fifth shooting. So they're pounding the under there. Surprised to hear somebody blame the game out of the gate. Tony, I appreciate that potentially divergent opinion. Gabby, who are you blaming here? Cambria, Maplestory, people underwhelmed with some of the rewards they're receiving. Who are you blaming, the gamers or the games?
Yeah, good question. I do think that balancing the expectations of gamers is really hard. If you're the game and you're trying to create a good economy, and let's just say that everyone is trying to create a good economy, right? It doesn't mean that everyone can earn money, and you have to create loops where a lot of people can earn maybe a small amount of money and fewer people can make a lot of money. And just creating these loops and balancing them and having real people go out and break them, challenging bots that are trying to siphon off most of the money. All of that is hard. However, that is absolutely a game design problem. So I would pin this on the game developer.
Wow, 2 for 2 on the game developer. Blake, whenever we finish this rally up, let's get it going. So it's going to be the blue side it's the game developer's fault, and the red side is the gamer's fault. It's currently 2-0 though. That rally's getting pushed. Fern, are you going to switch it up, or are we blaming the games?
I'm happy to blame the gamers. I mean, I know we're supposed to say the customer is always right, but as when people say in a brainstorm, like there's no bad ideas, there are definitely bad ideas, and there are also bad customers. So I don't know like the specifics of these drop rates because I haven't played them too. I've like messed around at the border, but I'm also not playing these games for the purposes of making money. So I'm not the target audience for this question. But I do think that gamers in this space sometimes have unreasonable expectations, and it's not always possible to meet them. And so I think on the builder side, you kind of know what people want. Some people want to play a real game. Some people want to play a real game, make money. Some people just want to make money. And you have to decide who is your target audience and how are you going to meet them where they are. Sometimes there's things that are out of your control. And sometimes there are things that you directly control. I have an anecdote from Proof of Play and from Pirate Nation. About 2 years ago, one of the hardest things in the game to get was called a faded map. It was basically impossible to get a faded map. And you need a faded map to get a high seas map, to get a high seas map to build ship. It was very important for the game progression. It was really hard to come by. And so we made some, and so there were some people who were farming them, who were selling them for, I don't remember how much they were going for, and they were making money. Then we made a change to basically increase the drop rate for faded maps. And it was a change that was net positive for the game because it meant that people could progress faster, they were less frustrated, they were able to unlock more content. It was just like a better experience for them. As a result, what do you think happens when you flood the market with supply and you don't have as much demand? Like we didn't increase player count accordingly. You have oversupply and therefore prices go down. So you have some people in the economy in the game who are happy because they can now build their ship. They can build more ships faster. And then you have other people who are pissed because they're not making money. And so you as a game designer have to decide what's more important to you and which audience are you trying to serve. And so the answer is kind of both, but you have to understand your audience. But generally speaking, I do believe that pretty much everyone on crypto Twitter, everyone in the space has unreasonable expectations of like what is possible because there's a finite amount of attention and money and just like game mechanics that you can put in place to make number go up. And you can introduce all sorts of Ponzi-nomics, but at a certain point, like someone has to pay the piper. And so maybe they're reaching that point sooner rather than later.
Great take from Fern. I love the balance that you struck there. Let's go over to Spang, then I'm tagging in Koji.
Yeah, I'm gonna echo most of what Fern said because I definitely think that there is an element. I mean, we were all just hyping up Cambria a couple of weeks ago because of their, I think it was like 1.2 million $1 giveaway, and everyone's like, this is awesome, this is why we play crypto games. And then everyone shows up for that giveaway and everyone gets a little less and everyone's pissed. And it's like, it's almost like I know that we're constantly trying to, play this balance of, oh, we need to, cater to, all gameplay people, and we need to cater to the speculative market as well. But like, this is one of those moments where you really have people just putting their hands up and be like, I don't really give a shit how good the game is, I'm just here to make money. And I think that, like, there's an element at which there's a certain point, and I think this is that point at which you need to tell those people, okay, like, this isn't for you. At this point, if this isn't making you happy enough, then go do DeFi stuff. We're here to have enjoyable experiences and play games, and that's what I think these are focusing on. And I think that, especially in the Maplestory case, it's balancing. And we see this happen in games all the time. People get pissed at the balance patch, and I think this is just we're gonna see this more and more as we kind of mature as an industry and grow, and are able to see these kind of changes implemented, for exactly the reasons that we were talking about earlier. This ideal shift, because as we were saying with the studio closures, there's been a shift in what it means to be a successful Web3 game. There's also been a shift in what it means to be a successful Web3 player. And a lot of players are having to figure that out now. And, it's, do I have a definitive answer on where that line is? But no, but we're starting to figure that out. And I think that this kind of outrage, if you want to even call it that, is a symptom of these growing pains.
It's a great point there. So it sounds like the last couple of answers have been on the side of the gamers are to blame and not the games. I'll call it 2-2. Koji, over to you.
Anyone who knows me, this isn't going to come as a surprise, but it's definitely the fucking gamers. It used to be that to play a game, you either had to like throw quarters into a machine at the arcade, or spend like $60 to bring a game home. And then we got to the point where games are free. And now we're at a point where the games are spinning quarters back at you, and people are like, it's not enough. If you don't have enough money, get a fucking job. Like, actually contribute, instead of worrying about, oh, this game isn't paying me enough to feed my family or whatever. Like, what the hell are you talking about, man? We're making toys. It's supposed to be fun, with the cherry on top being, if you are having enough fun with it, if you are jumping through the right hoops, whatever, you get some reward back, which is more than I ever got from any of the games that I know lifed. And so people who are like, oh, this isn't paying me enough, like, get the fuck out of here. And yes, okay, we have to design shit for everybody, and everything everyone said prior to me is like correct in some regard, but like, the people who are complaining on Twitter are definitely to blame, because they're the ones who are gonna, like, I don't know, create bots to farm the shit out of stuff. Whatever. The faded map example is a great example. It's just like, people are gonna abuse the system, so we have to make a system that rewards less because of abusers. If you want to get paid more for playing games, get rid of, like, kick the abusers out of here, like, shame them publicly, do all the shit, and then, like, maybe that can happen, but it'll never happen because everyone's fucking greedy. It's the gamers.
That was a spicy banger. Not surprised on the take, but it was still amazing to hear nonetheless. Kevin, you're in the midst of sort of designing this for your game. What's your take on the subject, and also your reaction to what Koji just said?
Oh man, this is my favorite topic. One of them. I'm gonna give a complex answer with a plot twist. I agree with all of the folks who said it's the gamers, but it's the gamers because the game developers have created them. So it's the game developers. That's my final answer. It's the game
Banger.
developers.
You've created a monster, Koji. This is your doing.
Dude, yeah. We have created these people. And since Jerry isn't here to razz me, I get a free pass on promoting my article on Web3 gaming personas that touches on all of this and the behaviors and the psychological patterns and why people are the way they are. Anyways, but since he's not here, I'll mention that. But like, what happened here is, people came in. It's up to the game developers to set the contract of what the expectations are here, right? If you say we're building a poker game and top 100 people money, then you have set that social contract, and the players can decide if they want to, greed for the money or play for the fun or whatever they want, or you can have an experience that allows speculators to live over here and players to live over there, and they are on either side of a fence, kind of like we're doing, right? Lots of ways to slice this, but you can't really like everybody like saying human greed is a problem, blame the humans. I mean, come on, like what's the solution, right? The solution is for game developers to stop setting those poor expectations, so that will eventually mature the audience out of that place where the gamers are the problem, because they are, right? But then we will stop creating them. And it comes down to when people have an expectation of, if you know people are going to have an expectation of playing your game for profit, you had better have a design that sustains that profit in some way, because I guarantee you, and there is science to back this up, go look up the over justification effect. Once they get the taste of the nectar of profits by playing your game, they will love it. And if for any reason that should drop, they will stop playing your game no matter how good it is. So if you don't see that train wreck coming as a game designer or a game developer, then you will run into the same problem. So you have to design around or with that fact.
Well, hold on. I got to push back on that a little bit, because we see games like Counter-Strike and Diablo and all these other games that came even before and after that have like for money economies that the companies never foresaw, and people are playing those games for money. Like World of Warcraft is a great example, right? And maybe the company is trying to stop it or whatever, but like I think that's it's part of gamer nature, right? You're seeing that already. Even if you're saying, "Hey, I don't want this," it's still happening.
Yeah,
So to
yeah.
be like, oh, they should design around it is a little bit disingenuous, honestly.
No. Fair point. So I agree that you can have. It's basically like how much of the game design you make that. And in the case of Counter Strike and those like emergent economies that kind of came up, where there's this gray market or black market account selling and all that stuff, and people just flipping those things on the side, that's fine. But when you look like as a Venn diagram of the percentages of people who are doing that relative to the entire audience, it's very small, and it's sustainable at that size. But if you bake that into the design on the front page and entice people to come over for that reason and market it as the developer, you're building a larger part of that pie, which isn't sustainable, and that's a problem of the developer. Do you agree more with that, Koji?
Yeah. I mean, look, I don't think either side is totally to blame. Obviously, I'm going to blame the side that I'm not. But like, uh, yeah, I agree that like we both kind of play a part in the nonsense.
Great stuff. Real quick, with this rally, Dub hit 12, but he didn't get over 12 right as it expired. So he's done nothing but lose to this point. We're changing it. We're lowering the barrier to entry. We're now setting it at 10. But this discussion has been absolutely fantastic. It's so good that Tony's DMing me his opinion on the side because he can't wait to get it out. So I'm send it over to Tony again, and then we'll go to Fern.
It's true. I'm just harassing Sam here on Telegram. No, I think that it comes back to Jerry Maguire. It all comes back to show me the fucking money. And the reason is because all we're talking about here, Koji, I really think, Koji, and I love you, I love you, but I think all we're talking about is the people who are making all of the money, the people who make the games, I think the ones who are gonna be more successful are the ones who are willing to part with more of the money than is currently the dynamic in the space and give it back to the audience, right? And whether or not you're giving it to the fucking weebs who are crying on the timeline, actually, I think I agree with you. Fuck those people. You shouldn't give them the money. But I do think that it's incumbent upon the companies to build unscalable solutions to reward the people that we should be rewarding, our true power users, until we find a way to scale those solutions. Like, it's on us to eat the shit and do the hard thing to spend the money to reward the right people. Until we don't want to eat the shit anymore, we figure out how to make it scalable. But I really do think that the conversation we're having is less like should we reward people bitching on the internet, and more like what is the percentage or what is the amount of riches or money that if you make a AAA game or a really successful title, you are willing to repatriate back to your audience. Right now, in the examples you use, Blizzard's not giving any money back to their fucking audience, right? Like, that's not a thing that exists. And so I think like somewhere between that and paying attention to the 50 people who are really sad about Cambria right now and enriching them is probably the right answer, is where I think we're going to land.
So I agree with I actually agree with you, Tony. Like we reward our top players obviously more than we reward our, you know, lower ranked players. And I think like that makes sense to me. But those aren't the people who are online being like, hey, you're not paying me enough.
I agree. I agree. But the question wasn't, is it the people bitching online or is it the game? Is it the players of the game? And I think that's what I'm saying. I think it's on the game to make it, because like if we had 100 people out there that were like the good people saying the opposite, like the dumb people just kind of wouldn't matter, right? You know what I mean? Like if we had really king made people that were making as much money as they could be with the kind of money that these games are making, then it would be like the narrative wouldn't be the whiny couple of people I think we all have in our head talking about how much money they're not making. It would be Frank, who's not working at 7-Eleven anymore.
I mean, fair, but I don't think like Yarla in our case is going to reply to everyone who's complaining about the prime payouts to be like, hey, I made like fucking $500,000 last year or whatever. Like that's not going to happen. So, you know, I think like
Not
the
with that
vocal
attitude.
minority.
Not with that attitude, Koji.
Yeah, maybe if we pay them more. The vocal minority is the problem, I think.
I think this is a really great conversation. One thing that I would say from my own experience, I brought this up already, but Snapchat, TikTok, these creator programs that we've seen on social media, there's always this huge inbound of people that want to get paid. And then it's the social media's job to essentially replace that motivation whenever they get rid of the creator program. So the TikTok creator program was famously like $275 million. And obviously it's really hard to replace $275 million with anything that's not incredibly extrinsic. But what they did was by the time that creator program disappeared, they were able to replace it with enough distribution help that it said, okay, well, you're not going to get paid from us directly, but you might be able to get paid because you can say, I just, got 30 million views or something like that. And I feel like part of the problem is these creator programs or these hyper monetized seasons or whatever you want to call them are so short, and there's usually you max out the content that you're playing to the point where there is no replacement at the end of it. It's just like either you keep playing the exact same content without the monetary reward or you don't play anymore, and that's not a very attractive alternative. Spang, what do you think? And then sorry, I think I was supposed to go to Fern. I'll go to Fern after. Spang, over to you.
Yeah, I was just I think that the reason I put my hand back out was basically to make the points that Koji was making in response to Kevin of like, the argument that we're having right now is the players versus the game developers, but they're the people who are complaining online aren't necessarily a part of that play account that we're trying to appease. And I think that that's the really important thing here is figuring out who exactly your game is for and who you're trying to benefit the most.
Let's go over to Fern next. Fern, over to you.
Yeah, I actually love that take from Kevin. I wanted to jump in immediately. Like, we created a monster in a way. I mean, I didn't create a monster. I feel like Axie Infinity created a monster, and then we just kind of like kept bolting things onto it a little bit. And yeah, expectation setting is the most important thing. We've always, again, pulling it back to Pirate Nation, we've never branded ourselves as play to earn. We've intentionally and aggressively and openly said it's not our goal to like enrich the players through like their gameplay. That may have happened incidentally, but it wasn't the core focus of the game design team. Regardless, people don't read or listen, or they think you're like winking at them. And because like everyone else is doing that thing, and I don't think it's good or bad, but I do think it's relatively unsustainable. It is really difficult to balance. As I've seen, I'm not a game designer, but as I've observed over the past couple of years, it is really difficult to balance quality game design, decisions that make the game more fun against this motivation of making money. And oftentimes they come into conflict with each other, and you have to choose. And if you're building a game, and especially if your team is not like a bunch of like degen, casino builders, your instinct is to build the game like that is going to be the fun thing. And again, it's not denigrating the other option, but like a lot of people are in the space, like they've been building games their whole life, and they're like, oh, I'm going to build the game, and it doesn't always prioritize that other customer persona. But Yeah, we're just trying to operate within the confines of the space around us, which has been cultivated and built by a lot of others, including us, right? We've been around since 2021, so like we're also culpable.
I'm unleashing the dragon. I'm going to the Titan of Taboo, Sinjin, eat their souls.
Yeah, you guys are all like really like this conversation is so elementary in some regards because it is actually a very difficult topic because it's a matter of bad actors, right? So like if you create a game for bad actors, okay, meaning that it's just for, earning and exploiting and stuff like that, then actually in order to even keep the game alive, the game gets less and less fun because you have to moderate the bad actors' actions, which you've kind of put forward and saying, okay, look, you guys are playing for incentives, you guys are playing for rewards, and everyone is like what we say in poker, like they're gonna angle shoot, they're gonna look for every single edge they can get to exploit the system, and then in creating and designing the game to make it less exploitable, right? You make it less and less fun, right? And then it's no longer about a game per se. It's just a matter of like how do you game a system, right? So the reason why I'm saying this is that in poker specifically, why do people play poker? Well, they're playing it for money to win. But the way that you win the money is in this framework of enjoying the competitive game of poker. So in poker, what ended up happening in the industry is that there's this very common term right now. We say like player ecology. Like, what is the composition of your player ecology? Is it like 90% like sharks or is it like 90% fish? Sharks being like the players who really know how to play. And what will happen is like even in a live game, like if you go to Bicycle Club or you go to Foxwoods or whatever like that, there will be like 6 players at a 9-handed table who are there who will not play against each other. They will wait for the fish to come and sit down and they will just destroy the fish. And the fish is like, what the fuck? In my home games, I'm pretty good. But I go to the casino, I just get annihilated. And I don't even know why, not realizing that the 6 other players are actually colluding against those 3 other players who sit down. So previously in online poker, what we would have is like you could pick your room. And what we had found was that these sharks would go and they'd literally hunt down these fish wherever they would sit and just totally destroy them, right? So in some ways, like if you put like and you advertise as your game, okay, we're a play to earn game, and here you're going to earn, right? You're basically making a game for bad actors, right? But on the flip side is that you make a game that has some earnings, and it works, but it only works if the bad actors are kept to a minimum or the bad actors are like held in some kind of guideline so they don't destroy the actual player ecology. I guess a big example of this is in NFTs is no royalty, like Blur and everything else like that ended up happening was like people don't want trading fees, right? So they don't want to they don't want trading fees and they don't want to pay the royalty fees. Okay, that's fine. And so you're rewarding in Blur like just mass trading without any royalty fees and you're circumventing that. But the entire industry was developed because the creators, the graphic artists and everyone else, they were getting these royalties. And once you took it away, yes, the market became more efficient. But the core reason for why the content was being made in the first place, the inspiration, the creativity, the aspiration of all of that was suddenly taken away, and then the entire market just tanked, right? And I'll say that the reason why it tanked was because then content was being made not for the joy of sharing digital goods for that had ownership. Now it was just basically started to just trade it as just whatever, right? And it lost its soul. So it's kind of like the games are to blame if they are making a game for bad actors, right? And that's all that it tracks. But then the players are to blame if they're here to just basically corrupt the game to angle shoot as bad actors to do it. And so at PokerStars, what we do is like we would just basically ban players, right? We would ban them for basically bad behavior or for doing so on and so forth. And they would say, well, this is part of the game. Like, that's just so unfair. But if we let the bad players or the bad actors run amok, they would literally destroy the whole ecosystem. And then there would be no game at all. Right. So it's a very, very nuanced thing. But for the most part in Web3 with the play to earn, it's definitely the game's fault because they promote bad actors. But for most other games, even if you try to design for it, you just can't do it because the game would no longer be fun. It's just like you're playing a game and like for instance, in rugby, okay, we say rugby is a gentleman's game and soccer or football is a hooligan's game. The reason why we say that is because like rugby is a super violent sport, right? I mean, like it is like a brutal sport. And if we did not play like gentlemen when we played rugby, it would just be a brawl every single time, right? So the game is designed that you have to be a good actor to play, or the game is not completely unplayable, right? Whereas in football, the sissy sport, right? Like it's designed so that like you can't really be a bad actor. So like if you're a bad actor, you kind of get away with it because you're not really getting injured, right? Oh, I sprained myself. Oh, I fell down, like this guy like touched my head or whatever like that. So, it's nuanced, but in Web3, I would actually say it's the game's fault because they promote bad actor behavior.
And for that reason, FIFA Rivals will not overtake NFL Rivals. Great points, in that was a banger. Let's go over to Lems, then to Knock.
All right, expectations. And I mean this on both sides of the fence here. Like, I'm not really going to I'm going to like straddle the fence a little bit. I will lean more on the game developer side as being more in the wrong, but it's also on the gamer side. So on the game dev side, there's setting expectations too high for people. And then we've created this culture, which other people alluded to, of like the expectation from gamers of getting like ridiculously outsized rewards or like everyone being rewarded. And I'm going to like just pull it like from these examples here, like Maplestory, I'm not as familiar with. The Cambria whole debacle, I like read a lot more about and talked to different people about what happened. With Maplestory, like it kind of comes down to the fact people were saying they can just basically play the old traditional Maplestory, which is richer in content, and just deal with the black market, and they can make more money playing that way, as opposed to buying overpriced assets, which again is the problem from the Web3 side, and not getting much out of it. So that's like bad expectations management there again from the game dev side of like, hey, you have like high prices for assets, you can't get a lot of token out of it, and then changing drop rates and stuff like that pisses everyone off. But the Cambria one, like that one, what really got me was a lot of people were just saying it's a fair point, like Koji kind of alluded to it earlier, of, hey, you're playing a game, anything you get is a nice reward. And while fundamentally I agree with that statement, the design in some of these systems is so piss poor that it incentivizes the total wrong kind of behavior. In the Cambria example, people just kind of like threw it out of like, oh, people were just pissed they didn't get enough money. But really, it was actually the way the design structure was why people were pissed who played the game. A lot of people said they enjoyed the game, but they were just really pissed off that there was this big reward pool. And what did they reward? The mindless grinding of the farming of the game, as opposed to like playing the game as one would expect to play an MMO. So, hey, like spending money to upgrade your character, getting all these upgrades on gear. They basically rewarded whoever hoarded the most currency at the end of the event. That's not the good way to like reward the game. So that way you could AFK farm the game. You could just do all the like meaningless like tasks that didn't take any skill whatsoever. And anyone who actually played competitively, because they didn't map out the whole reward structure, they gave a high level example, which I think is better in Web3. If you tell people exactly how the rewards are going to play out, it's way easier for people to game the system. But what ended up happening was people expected some of the farmers and stuff to get burned, and the people who played at a skill level and played the PvP and upgraded their character and spent all this money in the game would actually get the most rewards. But instead they reward the people who hoarded all the stuff versus people who literally spent more money in the game and played the game as you would expect to play an MMO. And that's purely down to bad reward design structures. So if you don't design a good reward system, I think it was like Kevin who alluded to it earlier, like it all kind of comes back to that. If it's not designed well in the first place, people of course are going to exploit it and be like, oh, I could play the game and do the more fun thing, which would be, oh, go and like upgrade my character and get to the end game. Oh, or I can make more money by fishing and just having like an AFK bot let me like fish constantly and just do this for the 2-week event. Boom. Of course, people are going to farm the shit out of that and try and extract as much money as they can. And all the people who played the game as the game was intended basically got fucked. And that's really shitty. And that's just down to bad design. And those people should have been the ones who got rewarded more, because they had fun and they like played the game as it should have been.
Great, great additional context from Lems. Dub is fighting for his life over here. I did it. Oh, okay. Knock, I'm going over to you. Then we're tagging in Sinjin before we move on.
All right, so much to unpack here, so bear with me. First, to Fern's point about the faded maps and whatnot, I think anybody who corners a market, especially a market on an asset that is integral to game progression, with the intention of increasing the price of that asset just to make a ton of money off of those. Fuck those people. I hope every single asset that you have that you're trying to do this with also gets fucked up in game, because that is like the worst thing you can possibly experience. You see this all the time with like merch clans in WoW and RuneScape, and then an update will come that makes that item less valuable, and then they complain. Like, good, get fucked. I hope that happens every single time you do this with an item. I hope that item gets fucked. So that's like a weird side tangent. I think that there's a lot more nuance to this that I think is being missed. So on the side of Cambria, I actually think that the issue here is on the side of players. Most of the complaints came from people who said the way that I played the game wasn't rewarded enough. Not fundamentally the reward system was broken or I don't like the way that rewards were distributed. The issue was I wanted to do this thing. This thing didn't spit out as many rewards as I wanted that thing to spit out. And now I'm going to complain about the fact that I did this thing and it didn't reward me the way that I had hoped it would reward. Overall, most of the rewards in Cambria were paid out to people who took on the most inherent financial risk, i.e., people who were funding groups and people who were taking positions within assets of that game. And they were rewarded more handsomely than the players who were maybe running around killing other players for 14 hours a day. I don't think that that is an issue in game design. I think that that is your desired behavior isn't the behavior that is going to be rewarded the most. That sucks. It doesn't feel good from a player perspective, but that doesn't mean that the design of the economy is inherently flawed. So I think Cambria, there's a lot more nuance to it simply than, hey, we wanted to PK a bunch, player kill. PKing wasn't rewarded in the way that we had hoped it would be rewarded. So therefore, it was a terrible system and it only rewarded farmers and stakers and people of that nature. Those
But
people took on
knock, is there any responsibility on the game developers for setting expectations around that or setting,
100%. Absolutely, there is. But the issue here is less about whether or not I was rewarded or whether or not the inherent the reward structure was set up incorrectly. To your point, Kevin, I agree. There's an absolute need for expectation setting. But fundamentally, the problem that a lot of people had, especially on Twitter, was the thing that I did didn't return the way that I wanted it to return. And I think that that is a bullshit argument and absolutely on the case of the players. In the case of Maplestory, this is a game that took to Web3 in a way to help. Their hopes here was to help alleviate some of the economic issues that they were seeing in the traditional Web2 title, right? Part of being able to alleviate those issues is reaching scale. They are not available in, to Kate Irwin's point, yes, on Monday on Simplified, in 8 of the 10 largest gaming markets on Earth yet. They clearly do not have the same player base. Of course, the economics of a new MMO this early on are going to be fucked. This happens in every fresh wipe server that you've ever played in any MMO ever. When RuneScape does it or when WoW does it, there are particular tiers of assets that are incredibly expensive. As time goes on, as more people play the games, as those worlds become more mature, the price of those assets decrease. So again, I can't help but feel that this is on the side of the players, maybe a little bit on the side of the game. I think it's almost like a little bit of a no man's land in Maplestory because we simply put don't have enough players yet and have not had enough maturity of the server to see whether or not the economic changes that they made from Web 2 are actually better, right? What we have right now is a very limited number of players playing in a fresh server, playing mostly financialized people who have to jump through the hurdle of downloading a MetaMask, connecting it to the game. This game is in its infancy. It is far too early to figure out whether or not what they've done and the changes that they've made from their Web 2 title will be effective. So I think that this is more a timing issue than an issue on either side of the aisle here. I don't think players are at fault for expecting better economics because that's what this was built at. I don't even necessarily think that the game was at fault for a poor economic design because ultimately they're not online in the way that they need to be online for this to be, actually rolled out in a more holistic way. So I think Maplestory, coin toss. I don't care who you blame. I absolutely believe that Cambria is on the side of the players, and I do think that we just in general need more time here. The last thing I'll say is it is absolutely hilarious to me how many people in this space in their 30s and 40s will say these kids never would have survived Modern Warfare 2 or COD lobbies on Xbox, and then constantly bitch and complain about people being mean to them on Twitter. It is absurd that Inhuman gets the amount of hate that people do. I'm just using him as an example because he is soft by Xbox lobbies. So you can either decide to give everybody shit for being a soft gamer today, or you can complain about everybody being mean to you on social media, but you don't get it both ways.
Dude, absolute banger mic drop moment at the end there. We do have to move on to the next topic soon, but I'm going to go to Sinjin and then to Tony real quick.
Yeah, I'll just give some color on the Maplestory thing, just because like being Korean, I do follow some of the Korean native posters and stuff like that. So this is a really interesting with Maplestory though, because it's a kind of a tale of two masters in two directions, because there are two prevailing criticisms that are happening, and they're on two different threads. One is the actual like Maplestory players who do know how to play Maplestory, and they're upset because of the lack of content, and the game itself doesn't seem fully fleshed out. And obviously the way that the drops are happening, it's just like it's not an enjoyable it's not a matter that's not enjoyable. It feels like an incomplete gaming experience, and that they feel like the economy side was put all this work to it, but it wasn't blended into the game content enough. And then on the other side are really the Web 2 speculator or Web 3 speculator players who are just like, fuck, I'm making like whatever. They've calculated like 40 cents or 85 cents an hour. This is such a waste of my time. And like I can't really grind. There's no point to grind to this level, because you got to get to this point, and then so like what's being like sold for like level 200 characters, it's just not worth it, and it's better just to kind of buy it and so on and so forth, and we're not really making any money from it. And so like they have a really difficult situation, because they've designed their game, or they've trying to design their game that appeals to the value of their economy, and the reason why. So they are really in the middle of it. And I just wrote, I think I quoted the strategy designer for Maplestory Universe, and I just said, let them cook. Like it's so fucking tough, this situation. Like, I mean, like, I'm telling you, I'm from the poker industry, I'm from the casino industry. I'm telling you, like, the thing about in Web3 is that like a lot of game designers have a lot of experience in game design. They don't have a lot of experience in actual financial incentive, real world incentive that's in the game. Yes, they have a lot of game economy, what do you call it? And I've pissed off some other like game designers on this. Like they have a lot of game design economy experience, but not when it's actual financial design that's touching within the game, right? This is a very, very difficult. My only feeling about this is, and this is how we've designed our game, is not to go for the speculators at all, and to grow it organically until you get enough of a user base, enough of the rails that are designed in from where you see the player behavior, then to kind of allow them to come in, because they feel like, okay, there are possible ways to earn here, right? But for us, it's a complete risk reward element. There's nothing free per se, in the way that we've designed it. And I can say that even with all the years of my experience as like a real money game designer in poker and card games, right? This has been a bitch of a fucking task.
I always love whenever Sinjin brings the poker experience into the equation. Tony, for a quick word, and then we're moving on.
I'll keep it real quick. I just got to say, I think it comes back to show me the money. I think we're just all talking about a marketing expense. I think all of the problems that you guys are talking about, like if you just assumed as a business, you were like, yep, if we're going to launch this type of product, and like, again, I go to Maplestory, they have a lot of money to spend, right? If I think that were I launching the thing that they were launching, I would just assume that I need to spend X millions of dollars in marketing to like, again, do the unsustainable, unscalable thing, and like, again, drill down into really rewarding who should be rewarded. And I think that like a lot of the theoretical, like, well, I want to do it this way or that way, could just be solved with money, right? Like if they said like, hey, we have this much money to give to people who are playing the game, and we're gonna like do it with you and learn how we should be rewarding people together. Like I don't know, like I said, I think all of it goes back to you can solve this particular problem that we're talking about by throwing money at it, and the only way to do that is by having a business that like works and is making money. And that's where I think it comes back to like not everyone gets to do everything, right? Like I think that there's some businesses that can successfully operate in the type of environment that we're talking about, and some that won't
Tony,
be able
I'll
to.
just say from experience, just to jump in, like that's not right, because there were a lot of competitors in the poker space, and they threw a lot of money, like tens of millions of dollars, to compete through giving guaranteed tournaments and stuff like this and free rolls and whatever like that, and they just couldn't. I mean, the user base and how you design for a user base and what you curate as user base, yeah, like they can be more scammy than you can be solvent. That's all I gotta say.
Well, show me the money is the perfect segue into our next topic, because the guy who had his art stolen by Bungie for Marathon is definitely saying, show me the money right now. How would you deal with this if you were the C-suite? It's been a little bit of a shit show since Bungie found out that apparently the art that they've been using for Marathon, their new big sexy IP that just had a big play test, apparently artists on their team stole the sort of cornerstone art for a lot of the style and design that is now making up the entire game. This has led to an internal audit and a legal review of all the artwork for Marathon to ensure that there's no more issues. On top of that, there's been negative feedback from playtesters about the state of the game, which obviously doesn't help to pile that on top of everything else. Apparently, the devs have been largely ignored by leadership for about 5 years, as far as what would and wouldn't work in the game, especially needed for a PvE component. So now testers are confirming that it doesn't feel good. Quote unquote, the vibes have never been worse at the company, according to some employees. This has led to them pulling the plug on their marketing plan, which is supposed to have a trailer launch in June and start pre-orders. And instead, they're delaying that while they sort out a couple of these issues. So, how would you handle this if you were in the C-suite of Bungie? And would you either buy this person out to buy the art that was stolen from them, or would you revamp the game to not include any of that art? I'm going to go over to Knock first.
I can't help but feel that this is sort of like a non-story, right? Like, isn't this how the system is supposed to work? Hey, we had a bad actor internally. We've caught the issue. We're going to run an internal audit to make sure that this issue does not expand or extend beyond the thing that we currently believe that it affects. And if it does, we'll deal with it that way. We want to make sure that everything we do moving forward is legally tight. Like, to me, that feels like exactly how this is supposed to happen. Yeah, it sucks when an artist gets their art stolen. I will never defend that from happening. Sorry, my dog with this fucking toy. Um, but I think that this is exactly how it's supposed to happen. Like, they found an issue, they're trying to resolve this issue. It sucks for the artist, but this happens all the time. At least they've acknowledged it and seem to be taking approach. Whether or not that acknowledgement comes because they've been catching heat on social, before anybody says that, I'm going to front run this and say it does not fucking matter. The point is they've acknowledged it, they found an issue, they're trying to solve it. I think that that's what's supposed to happen here.
It's just that simple. All right, Tony V, what do you say?
Yeah, I agree with the sentiment that it's a good thing that they're taking the accountability that they're taking, and they're saying all the right words. I do think that it is a real show me the money situation, though. Like I think that like the easiest and most like sensible solve here really is to be like, hey, clearly your shit's good enough to serve as a significant portion of our game. Like, why don't you come work with us and help us build this thing? I'll use Crystal Dynamics as an example. I was working with them earlier this year. They launched a remaster for Legacy of Kain, this vampire game that was real popular in the '90s, and they went and found like the woman from fucking London that was remastering the game on her own because she loved it so much, and brought her onto the team and had her. She's like a like a associate designer on the remaster and shit. And like it costs them, again, it goes back to like, show me the money. Out of, if you're making a shitload of money, how much of it are you willing to give up, to do the right thing and honor the people that are making you successful. And I think this is like clearly an example where the right thing to do here is for Bungie to take, like, for one of their C-level people to make $1.5 million bonus this year instead of $1 million bonus or $2 million bonus, and give this dude $500,000 and fucking hire him and have him come do shit on the fucking team. Like, I see the thumbs down knock, but like, that's like, I would be that transparent about it. I would, like, if I was the fucking if I was the head of marketing there, if I was the head of like art or whatever, I would be like, I'm gonna eat that shit sandwich.
Yeah, knock. I was agreeing with Tony, nodding my head in real life, but obviously the thumbs down came in at the end there. What gives?
Okay, so I actually agree with like 99% of what Tony said. That last thing I really strongly disagree with. So whenever somebody from a community shows this type of initiative, I agree with Tony. This is an opportunity to bring that person in. Clearly you're excited about the thing that they're doing. It looks good. It's a good PR piece. It makes everybody feel good. Great. We saw this happening with people who were spinning up private servers for both WoW and RuneScape. I always reference this because it's the two games that I know best. But those people were ultimately brought in to work on things like vanilla WoW or classic WoW, and as well as like old school RuneScape. That makes sense. That feels good. It's a good story. This idea that a single rogue actor within the company can do something that then costs the company $500,000, I think is really dangerous, because what could end up happening in a company like this is, hey, Koji's an artist. I'm an artist who works at this studio. Koji let me steal some of that art. 2 years later, we're going to go after them. You're going to win a $500,000 lawsuit. That's bullshit. It opens up a massive can of worms that I think is dangerous for the company's bottom line. I agree like wholeheartedly with Tony's sentiment. I agree with the idea that people that you take inspiration from or people that bring things into your ecosystem should be rewarded. You should hire from the community. You absolutely should make good on this. Hey, we fucked up here. Let's find a way that makes sense here. But a rogue actor in a company of like 150 people doing something and then you rewarding that situation only opens up the possibility for people to exploit that downstream. That's not beneficial to anybody.
Sinjin, I want to hear your take on this one.
Oh, you make so much sense. I just don't agree with you. You're such a fucking sensible person, Knock. I love you.
Yeah, fuck you.
Yeah, well, this situation is quite a bit different than the example that Tony had given, and the one that Knock had countered to, in the sense that um, like the art that was taken, it actually had the signature of the artist. Like, that's how much they had lifted it, right? So this is like purely like not just, there's inspiration, which, every artist and every designer is going to be inspired from in the fashion industry, other than the brand label. Like, there's no way to copyright a dress, because it's all built on each other. So you could, other than like, you could have exactly the same design, but as long as the logo is different, like, there's no way to like sue on this in this regard, right? Because that's just the nature of fashion. It's the nature of inspiration. It's the nature of artistic, development and stuff like that. But in terms of like purely as like a gaming executive, which I was one, like, I would say that the PR does matter as well, right? Because if you catch it early and you realize this has happened, you negotiate in private and so on and so forth. But when it becomes public, right, there's a couple of things there too. Because sometimes, like, maybe that artist did reach out and everyone just ignored that person, right? It's just like when you get on American Airlines and you get screwed by them, and then you do a social media post. Suddenly, instead of getting a voucher for $50, you get like a first class ticket, right? Because there is this cost to the bad PR. And I would say, like, from my point of view, I would look at it as like, okay, I would actually, because in this case it was pure like theft actually. And even if you do an audit and you see what's wrong so you don't repeat it, the fact of the matter is, you fucked up, and you fucked up in a very public way. I would negotiate with the artist and see if we could keep the art in there. If they're asking for so much, then we just say, we apologize, it's been fixed, and then you have to kind of redo the game art. And if they're reasonable and it makes sense, and it's a good PR win, and even if it costs a little bit more, then you pay it off, and you turn it into a good spin on a story that we took out the bad actor in our company, and this is not going to happen again, and we have a very happy ending here. But I would get ahead of it as quickly as possible. To let something like this simmer for such a big title and for such a big investment, time is of the essence, and to be very decisive is very, very important here, one way or the other, and kind of work with it, to let it sit and simmer and try to figure out internally, and we're going to get back to you. While they have like egg on their face here, it looks just terrible. But on a side note, I know I'm going to take up a little time. Before Team Liquid got really, really popular and we're in like TL.net, the Team Liquid thing, one time this one guy was in our community. He worked for this other company as an intern, and he made his logo, the Team Liquid logo, for like this, like, I don't know, tech company. And we found it, and then we harassed the fuck out of this company, and we sent them emails, we threatened them, and we're gonna burn the place down. How dare you take away our community logo and shit like this. And then the founder said, we had no idea, we're so sorry, please leave us alone, stop review bombing us, we're a small company, we had no idea, just leave us alone. And so, you just got to get ahead of these things.
That's an amazing anecdote. I want to go over to Spang. I also want to hear from Koji on this one. He works at one of the most art-driven games in all of Web3. But Spang, you're up.
Yeah, I think Sinjin smashed it on the head. I mean, this is like the real metric that I'd be like curious to see how this pans out is how many people don't buy the game because of this, and how bad of a taste does it leave in people's mouths because they're like, oh, this is the kind of shit that Bungie is doing. As someone who played Destiny on and off for 10 years, I'm like, oh, this is just Bungie doing their usual bullshit. They're like when Marathon launches, it will be bad, and then a year and a half after it launches, it will be good, and then 3 years after it launches, it will be bad again. They're called Bungie for a reason. They bounce back and forth. I hope that they, are able to pull this together. But at the end of the day, I don't think it's gonna have. I'm actually not sure what effect it's going to have on their sort of end line sales. I think the state of the game will do a lot more harm than that. But from what you were saying at the start, it sounds like that's the real problem here is that they haven't been listening to their devs. They haven't been communicating tightly enough with their team. And that's how shit like this happens. I hope the artist gets reimbursed, but at the end of the day, game sales are what they're going to be most concerned about.
Fair take. Knock was hitting you with the thumbs down, though. I want to go back to him, and then Kevin Lambert also wants to chime in.
I was giving the thumbs down not because I disagree. I actually hope and wish that more people thought that way. But of the list of things that people are mad at Bungie for, this isn't even on the list, right? Like this is the current news cycle. This is something that people will be upset about right now. And when the game gets released, this will be like a footnote in the history and some weird lore that like one or two people who want to be quirky are like, remember that time they stole art from this guy? Like nobody gives a fuck about this long term. To Sinjin's point, there's absolutely danger in the short term, and you have to navigate this correctly. And if they navigate it correctly, then people really won't remember this long term. But this is like Fortnite. Fortnite stole the idea of Haunted Hills from a creator. The idea looked great. The way that they brought it together, which was the location, felt awesome. It was like, oh, they're listening to the community. And then they completely fucking ignored this guy. They didn't include anything about him. They didn't mention the fact that this happened. And for a long time, for like 3 weeks, people gave a shit, and then a new update comes out, and somebody broke a gun in the game, and now it's why the fuck is the pump shotgun one-shotting people from 15 feet away, and nobody cares about Haunted Hills anymore. Of the entire list of things that might affect sales, this again is not even on the list.
I will say, do not underestimate the power of Reddit because those people are fucking nuts. They'll drag you through the mud and kick you while they do it.
Their entire hobby isn't actually playing the games; it's shitting on people that they think deserve to be shit on. Kevin Lambert, then to Koji.
Yeah, I don't think I need to add anything much on kind of what's happening as far as like with the game, the studio, the public perception, the sales, reviews, all that. I like to I'm looking a little deeper at like what's actually going on, and it's interesting because like if you look at where Bungie came from, they came from like indie creative autonomy, right? And then they, part of Microsoft, and now they're indie again, then acquired by Sony, right? Each of those are massive shifts to their culture, right? And now with Marathon, under scrutiny and public apologies and reviews and no gameplay shown, it's like it's kind of showing that they're under probably an internal shift that maybe they're maybe they're not quite reflecting that bold creator first spirit that, defined them originally. And it's interesting that this art thing was not caught internally. I mean, I don't know, maybe I'm speculating here, but it might not, there might be some creative oversight or in their pipelines that didn't see this. But the art director and the game director went on record personally, right? Which, you don't see that at big corporations. So to me, that's a reflection of them trying to get back to that indie, like, hey, we're out there, we're here, we're listening. They're also possibly shielding their upper execs by doing that. you know so I don't know, I think it's interesting and might represent like almost a little bit of an identity crisis going on as for like why this is happening. I just think it's interesting to analyze it from that perspective.
Koji, I want to tag you in.
I mean, I agree with what Knox said that I doubt this will affect sales at all. It's especially early enough in the game's life cycle. I mean, they did run some playtests, whatever, but like they have more than enough time to change it. I also think that for whatever reason, gamers would be angrier if there was AI art in the game as opposed to stolen art. So there's that too. But yeah, I don't know. Honestly, I think that like it's just flabbergasting to me that this is even possible for a company of this size in this day and age. Like there's, I personally know, uh, you, somewhat tangentially, but like people who have worked on this project, and it's not a small group of people, right? So like this has passed through many hands. It's insane that like no one was. I mean, I guess outside of the art team, no one would know whether or not something was stolen. Like if our artist took an asset and just put it in on a card, would I know? I don't know every asset in the world, I suppose. So like maybe that isn't the greatest argument, but I don't know. I think it's just crazy that like for a company of this size, they can't just create all of their own art assets. I mean, we're doing it, and we're not even a tenth the size that they are. So it's like it just feels lazy to me. I mean, the game itself in general feels a little lazy to me. So whatever, I'm not surprised.
Koji's over it.
The existential dread is bathing Koji right now. Let's go over to Spang and to Lems. Then we got to pick our MVPs.
Yeah, I was just gonna put some fuel on the fire of Kevin's comment that the Bungie has been going through it the last sort of 5 or so years. Like I remember keeping up with Destiny news. It was always like, hey, we're gonna be doing, a dungeon crawler. Oh no, we're not doing that anymore. Hey, we're gonna be doing this kind of expansion. Oh no, we're not doing it anymore. Actually, we're making this mobile game that nobody wants and all of the devs hate it. But we're going to force them to make it anyways, and we're also going to start funneling devs away from Destiny 2, despite their work not being done, and putting them onto Marathon. And if that's what Destiny has been going, which is a live game and the focus of the company, I mean, I don't know if that's the case anymore. I can only imagine that with the CEO shifts that they've been undergoing, disputes with Sony on the direction to take the company, all of that stuff, I feel like that's how you get something like this being missed, is the absolute shitstorm that they've been through.
Lems, and then do a knock for the final word. Then we got one more really quick topic we're going to sneak in.
Yeah, just to jump off Will's point there, like I wonder, could this actually be like enough of a shitstorm to be a death knell for Bungie? Like, because there's been so many of these like things adding up together. Apparently, they've been laying people off. They've been struggling with like money a bit, and then who knows how much of a rebuild this has to be. Like, apparently that art asset's from like 2020 or something. So this has literally like slipped through the cracks for literally years. And then it's the artist herself who like sees it somewhere and she's like, what the fuck? Why is my shit being used? And like without permission, it's like, I don't know. Like if that, and then the game not being good enough, it's just like this whole shitstorm together. It's like, I feel like that could like snowball into a much, much bigger deal unless they manage to like nip this in the bud and like get it all figured out.
Knock with the last word.
It didn't slip through because of a lack of process. This like likely slipped through because it doesn't fucking matter. Every major top 40 artist in the last 30 years has been in at least one lawsuit for fucking plagiarizing somebody else's chord progression or sampling a song without actually sampling the song. It's not 150 people who had their hands on this thing that missed it. It's that it doesn't matter. Nike and Apple are both in current lawsuits over plagiarism. You've had Starbucks suing every fucking coffee chain on earth and vice versa happening to Starbucks based off of particular things that gone on. Guess and fucking Gucci had a lawsuit like 5 or 6 years ago where they were suing each other over patent infringement. This is just like the cost of doing business for a lot of these public companies and companies who are trying to drive money to bottom lines. The reason why things like this happen is because ultimately it does not matter. There are never consequences for this sort of thing. It sucks for the artists who get exploited. But like Disney and Disney like On Location is in at least half a dozen lawsuits that I have followed on YouTube about a creator who had a piece of artwork that was stolen from somebody at Disney. They now sell it in the Disney shops. They're not acknowledging the fact that it's him, to the point where like the piece that they are selling literally has this author or this artist's insignia on the bottom of the thing that is being sold at Disney. Like they literally just ripped it one for one. And he's been in a lawsuit for 10 years because ultimately it doesn't matter. They have more money than you and they can run you into the ground if they want to. They should take care of it. It's a PR issue, to St. John's point. I think it has a potentially, short-term damage, but this idea that this might kill Bungie is so absurd to me because in 3 months from now, we're never going to even remember having this conversation on Simplified or in Gabified rather, because I don't even know what fucking show I'm on.
All right, guys,
Freudian slip.
we got to go to the very last topic of the day. Really quick, we're doing big deal or no deal, okay? Big deal or no deal. Mongrel joins OpenSea as a global gaming ambassador. If you guys don't remember Mongrel, he was the person who won first place in Dookie Dash as the next Fortnite pro. He also famously sold the Dookie Dash key for over $1 million, and now he's even more integrated into Web3. We're also doing a rally on thousands for this one, as well as a vote for the MVP. So I need you guys to tell me if it's a big deal or no deal for OpenSea signing Mongrel. Big deal is going to be blue. No deal is going to be red if you're on thousands. And then also give me your MVP vote. We have Sinjin, Koji, Kevin Lambert, Knock, Lems, Tony, and Spang. Tony, I'm going to you first. Big deal, no deal, and who's your MVP?
Absolutely no deal. And Kevin Lambert is going to be my MVP.
Kevin Lambert is amazing. All right, no deal for OpenSea signing Lambert or the Lambert. Maybe Kevin Lambert's getting that deal after Mongrel, but Mongrel's the one who signed it originally. Let's go over to Sinjin. Sinjin, big deal or no deal for Mongrel signing to OpenSea?
No deal. Let that entire Dookie Dash Yuga stuff all just die. And no matter how much money and shots on goal that they have, it's not looking good at this point. Why be associated with it? My MVP is Koji, man. Like sleeve on his heart, like heart on his sleeve, and I love he's always authentic. And that's good. That's really good. And knock theft is wrong, man. Even if the man is fucking you, fuck it, man. That's why we're in crypto. You fucking capitalistic pig. And it's not going to take down Bungie. I agree. But still, fucking capitalistic motherfucker.
Going to Dub next.
Holy, I can't stand this. Like, get your head out of your ass, Sinjin and Tony here. Mongrel, it's not about Yuga. They have him for OpenSea for the games that are here now. Like, they're not gonna go back to fucking Dookie Dash, dude. This is for like maybe Sparkball, maybe Wildcard. Like, I look forward to seeing a guy at this level partnering up with a guy like Oliver who knows what games to put in front of people that is Mongrel's audience. Like, this is a freaking tag team duo coming in to take over WWE, and I'm stoked for it. You guys need to just really look past your projects and the past of Yuga, because
Yeah, I'm down. I'm down with the Alpha Tower with Oliver
okay,
anytime.
yeah. Now we see, yeah, see the light.
It's 2-1. Two people say no deal. We got one saying big deal. Spang, over to you. And who's your MVP?
I was gonna say no deal, but then I after like spending 5 minutes trying to look him up and not being able to find it, but then I clicked the link you sent me, Sam, and the guy's got 2.3 million followers, and I trust the OpenSea team to not be idiots, so I'm just gonna assume that I'm the dumb one here and that it is a big deal. And MVP is going to my fellow player of the gentleman's game, Sinjin.
Yeah, Mongrel with two A's might be the thing there that's tripping you up. MVP voting is tight for now. Let's go over to Koji, see if it stays that way. Big deal or no deal, 2-2.
Yeah, sorry, my internet's being crazy. It's gone in and out all day. So if you lose me, but I'm gonna go big deal just because I love Oliver and I love OpenSea. Those guys are awesome, and like I didn't know this guy's name. I knew the Dookie Dash stuff, but like he's not somebody I recognize, so I'm more apt to say no deal. But because I like those guys, and I'm gonna say they don't miss. I'm voting big deal. Who's my MVP? My MVP this week is I'm gonna go Sinjin because I mean I think that we start to take his level of insight and his sass for granted, and so he doesn't get as many MVP votes as he probably should.
Uh, I don't think I've ever taken Sinjin Sass for granted personally, but if you want to speak for yourself, Koji, I respect that. I think
No, I'm
that
gonna
that puts
speak
us.
for I'm gonna speak for everyone else. So you're too busy at the strip club, bro.
God damn it, not again.
That puts us at 3-2. This being a big deal now after starting off 2-0, little no deal. Knock the emperor of esports, the man who's brought home 4 Fortnite World Championships, the man who on the panel who I respect the opinion of more than anybody on this one. Big deal or no deal for OpenSea signing Mongrel.
Before I get into that, if you're building in fucking Web3 and you constantly preach about we need to bring on the masses and you don't know the name Mongrel, get your fucking head out of your ass, man. What are we talking about? Like this guy has been like one of the biggest creators in fucking video games over the course of the last 5 years. The dude has done nothing but top Fortnite leaderboards, still streams to an average of 3,000 people every time he turns on Twitch. He is a massive, massive creator. This isn't like some small time deal. That being said, it's probably closer to no deal than it is big deal for one simple reason. The amount of money that would need to be paid out here for this to be a always on Mongrel's going to get behind and push, Web3 gaming is so high that not even OpenSea would be willing to pay it. This is going to be, if I had to take a guess, a 5 to 10 stream activation over the course of the next 12 months. It'll be exciting. It'll be great. It's going to be really good for marketing moments. It's going to be excellent for OpenSea. Somebody coming from Magic Eden, like I have no issue saying this. This was an incredible business move from like the OpenSea side of things because it feels good for games. The reality of it is Mongrel only ever played one Web3 title, and it was because he could make $1.5 million in it. And that was significantly more than one of the peak Fortnite players at the time was ever able to make over the course of his career. I don't think you see this type of same activation or that type of attention matter. We saw a few people play a Dookie Dash because Mongrel won it, but that was mostly because it was relatively low barrier to entry. It wasn't a significant cost. I think that this is a really good PR piece. It matters a lot to OpenSea. It'll probably mean a lot to the games that get part. I don't want to discredit that, but I don't think that this changes anything for Web3 gaming. One streamer, even of relative size, even of his relative importance over the course of the next year or so, does not really change much for the outlook of Web3 gaming breaking into the masses, especially not from a guy like Mongrel. I also, in 2019, when we were in New York for the Fortnite World Cup, just have this memory of, to be fair, he was a fucking child at the time, of this dude just smashing Skittles into the carpet of his hotel room. And me and the manager from FaZe had to like understand, like speak to the fucking management and like, don't kick us out of the hotel room. We've got fucking 13 kids with us here. I'll never forget that. He's an absolute fucking little chaos monkey is the best way to describe him. But he is a good streamer. He is a big name. You absolutely should know who he is. Probably doesn't change a whole lot for Web3 gaming. My MVP, Sinjin.
Oh, snuck it in at the end there. Appreciate you also including that. Yeah, amazing to get the direct firsthand experience. That means we're at 3-3 though. Big deal to no deal. OpenSea signing Mongrel. Lems, that means you're the tiebreaker. Which one are you taking?
Oh man, like I wanted like a little deal because we usually do big deal, little deal, no deal. Because like I was like, has he done that much? He's just been playing Fortnite the whole time. I don't know. I was gonna go with no deal anyway, just because it seems like, yeah, will he actually convert that many people? I think Knock brought up a really good point, like how much are they actually going to be paying him or how long is it going to be for? And I will default to Knock's expertise on this one. Because, yeah, I know who the guy is, but I just thought he just kind of played Fortnite and then sort of retired and then sort of didn't retire and just played Dookie Dash and then kind of like came and pieced out and basically came for the paycheck and was one of those, I guess he was the extractor that we were talking about earlier, and then got his bag and left. And my MVP is Knock, even though I disagreed with him on some stuff. You know, it's always good to have you on the panel.
Kevin Lambert, I saw the hand go up. Don't mess up my perfect symmetry here, though. We need the rally to end somewhere. So I have to call the rally done there. Lems, did you say big deal or no deal? I'm sorry.
I said no deal because I wanted to say little deal, but you didn't give me the option, so I had to go with no deal.
All right, no deal is going to be the winner. I'm sorry to do that to you, Kevin. I do need to know your MVP vote of the day, though.
I'll just give my MVP, even though I somehow got left out of that call. It's fine. We'll go with Koji, because where else can you be on a panel of game industry experts kicking in opinions on the future of gaming and the present of gaming with so many people who have intimate knowledge of so many games, going all the way back to classics like Mario RPG. And I just know that in this room, if I'm like, hey, have you guys played this? Have you guys played this? That like me, the answer will be, yeah, of course, like with so many people. So like I'd give everybody MVP if I could, but today it's Koji.
That's amazing. Koji got 2 votes, but Sinjin got 3. That means he's getting the 60 seconds of FaceTime. Sinjin, I know you have a launch coming up in Thailand soon. Very excited for you, man. What do you want to talk about your 60 seconds here?
Yeah, yeah, I don't want to share anything with the bad actors in this room, so I'm not going to say anything. But if you do want to find out, just join our Discord. Otherwise, yeah, I just wish everyone have a really good week. And, my heart does go out for all the studios that are closing down and stuff like that. That's always tough. But I think, for those people who are holding on, for something really amazing that they want to see in Web3, like keep going for it, don't give up, make it happen. Even if you have to pause development, that's okay. Just, keep the dream alive, guys.
Keep the dream alive. As we know, Web3 gaming is maybe one of the hardest industries on earth to actually make it work on a long time horizon. So, mad respect to all the studios that try their best to act ethically, to build cool things, to push the industry forward. That means a ton to all of us here, whether or not they're successful. Honestly, as long as you're not a straight up scammer, you're good in my book. Thank you for trying to do cool things. We know it's not always going to work out, but we really appreciate you. I have to give a big shout out to all of our amazing sponsors. Of course, Avalanche, the official chain of Gamified, is more than just a blockchain. It's a winter wonderland of innovation with a $100 million AI fund and partnerships with gaming giants like Gunzilla Games, T1 Esports, Solo Leveling, and more. Avalanche is breaking the ice and setting the standard for the future of gaming. And we're here live in London at the summit, literally 45 minutes away is the Bridgerton Castle that we've all been hanging out at all day. It's one of the most insane things I've ever done in my entire life to be here in real life. It's been truly a blast. Whether you're a seasoned pro or a curious newbie, come explore the avalanche of possibilities here on the Frosty chain. And you got to get ready to rumble with the gatekeepers who are flipping the script and giving the power back to the players. They're the ones empowering players to take control of their digital destinies, to build their own societies, and to shape the future of gaming. It's Game 7, the official infrastructure of Gamified. Go grab your gamepads and get ready to conquer the next era of gaming. And today, we, of course, had Dub playing Farcade games on thousands.tv while we did Gamified. Thank you, everybody, for participating in the chaos. Sorry if it was a little bit hectic between having one laptop to manage like 4 different things and also live streaming on Thousands for the first time. It was a little less organized than I typically would like. But with that being said, I think we still had a lot of fun, had some really interesting discussions. You can make your own game development dreams come true by we're offering a no-code solution to building games, to developing games, and distributing your own creations. Thanks to the Farcade, and thank you to thousands.tv for giving away $500 in Wolf via the Wolves Down, $500 in Gun via Off the Grid. That was all possible thanks to thousands.tv. That's going to go to some of the top scorers and people that were participating in rallies throughout the episode. It was a blast to live stream along with you guys. really, really appreciate being included in this and can't wait to do it again soon in the future. We'll be back same time, same place. I'll be in Salt Lake again, back in my dojo, so to speak, at 4 p.m. Eastern next week. And of course, join us for Simplified, 4 p.m. Eastern on every single Monday with me, Knock, and Big Bro Matt. Thanks again, guys, for tuning in. And thanks to all of our amazing panelists, Sinjin from Meiji, Koji from Parallel, Kevin Lambert from Project O, Knock from Magic Eden, Lems from Cypress, Tony V from Glitter Cloud Solutions, Spang from AVAX, and also Dub from Glitter Cloud Solutions. The Glitter Cloud boys always making it happen on the shows. We'll see you next week. Thanks, guys.